Hey YouTube, what's up? We are back with part two of the Joaquin Phoenix, not Phillips, Phoenix version of the Joker. If you haven't seen part one, I'll go ahead and pop up a little card. It'll pop up on the top right hand corner of your screen. If you hover over it with the mouse, click that. It'll take you directly to part one of this video. It's also can be found in a playlist called, ironically, The Joker. Smart. Anyway, we're going to get moving into it. Let's get on with this thing. All right, so we're going to come in with our light blue mix, and we're going to use a little bit of our texture stencil off the edge there. Just create some of those dots with the blue so that we have white highlights. We'll have to do some erasing out later, but that, just helps move it along pretty faster. And notice again, I am working in the direction kind of using those same shapes and the same motions that I used before to create that depth in that eyebrow. And then of course you saw me glaze over the top of the eyelid and didn't have to do a whole lot of work there. And of course I'm pulling out some highlights back with the hairs and kind of scratching a couple of little hairs in there. I'm still going to get one more layer of color on top of those eyebrows before it's all said and done. And then I'm going to come in here with that lighter blue, and we're going to chase around the edge. And of course, I'll be using one of my texture shields. Once again, I do have a video on how to make those. They're very, very, very easy to make and come in extraordinarily handy for them rough edges you need like that. And you would use that in a lot of places, believe it or not. So yeah, we're going to just base it all in with the light blue, even though we're coming in with a darker blue on top of it. And we're going to pull, of course, some of those highlights out where the edges for the highlights, and hitting a little cleanup on top while I'm at it. Bam! We're going to mix up just a little bit more orange in our original blue mix. We're going to take it and add a little bit of orange to it, and that's going to darken that color. And I'll show you that shade that we're mixing up, and we're going to spray that in there. Now that we got that darker color mixed up, we're going to come back in. We're going to come back over the spots that need to be darker in the makeup there. And the reason that makeup is darker in those places, two reasons are existing. One is on the edges, the makeup is smeared and spudged more. Two, that is where it's sunk in, his eye socket is sunk in, so it's not getting as much light reflected into that spot. But you'll also notice that when I do that, if you look, I don't just flood fill the color in there. I'm going to leave it a little loose when I go back and forth with my filling, so that if you look at it closely, you'll notice that some of that lighter color is shining through on that darker color. And so yeah, I'm coming in with that really, really dark color. Going to make a whole lot of use out of texture shields and create a lot of textures in there. Working off the edge of those shields and making sure I have that rough edge. Filling in that darker spots. And of course we're going to come back and then we will pull some more highlights out as well. All right, we're going to mix up the red for the nose, get that nose in there. Joaquin the Red-Nosed Joker. That don't sound right. Anyway, if you guys know why clowns have red noses, drop me a note down in the comment below, because I really have no idea. I'd love to know the history behind that. Anyway, let's move on. And of course, as we put the makeup in for the nose, is going to be very similar to the way we did the blue makeup for underneath the eye, with the exception of where your shadows and highlights are. I'm going through here, and you see how much I'm actually putting in with the airbrush as my textures, and I'm just kind of working loose with a figure 8 texture. And then you'll see I use just a single dot outside of there just to create some dots on the outside, because there's spots where the makeup got dotted out outside of the basic red makeup of the nose. You want a pretty rough edge. And then I wanted to show you guys make sure you can see how I'm working in here, creating most of that texture, a great deal of that texture freehand. Um, you know, just scribbling in here. A lot of that is like a figure eight motion. Some of it is a squiggly, circly motion. And, you know, you get a little bit of control with your airbrush. It's really not hard at all to create a lot of those textures with your airbrush. You know, you can do them with a shield. You can do them with an airbrush. You can come out and erase them back. But the more textures you put in with your airbrush and with your texture stencils, the less work you have to do with your sheet, with your erasing and scratching, of course, when you get to that point later on. So I'm just using a combination of them. And of course, I do a little bit of scratching out, pulling out some highlights, and you know, the easiest way to get out your highlights. You can always come back in and paint them with white. Um, you know, but scratching and erasing is obviously the way I'm going with this particular painting. If I was working on canvas or something, that wouldn't be much of an option. So there's other ways to do it, of course. And then that is the darkest red that I'm going to mix up, and both of these reds are mixed by Scarlet and adding moss or Viridian green in the Createx Illustration line to make those colors darker and more desaturated. It's just a question of how much I put in each mix. And then of course using that darker red mix to shade in that nostril very, very dark. And then as before, catching off the edge of that texture stencil to create some of those textures in there, deciding where I need them, and then using my little skin stencil to create you know, all those little ripples and skin-like textures that are going on in the makeup and all that. All right, a couple things to talk about. One, this color underneath here on the eye. That's a mixture of burnt sienna and violet, and I sprayed in there and pulled a couple of little highlights out, made a really dark mix, put a couple eyelashes in. Unfortunately, my memory card ran out, and I didn't catch it until I had sprayed that in. Then I'm going to mix up a little super light pink color here. And what I did is I took red and I put a drop of red in my cup, my airbrush, sprayed it all out until it was gone, added a drop of white, and made this super, super light mix. These are colors. That makeup and skin will always have some color to it, but it's going to be really, really subtle. Also, I should mention, if you don't know how to mix these colors up, I have a video, a color mixing video, and I'll link to it in the backside where you guys can look it up. The Color Science playlist. That will teach you how to mix any color you want at any time. So if you get confused about what color or how to mix a color, if you go watch those videos and put a little bit of time and practice in, you'll be able to mix up any color you want. And I promise that's probably the best video that I have that you can possibly watch if you are struggling with colors. Show a little bit how subtle that mix actually is, and you see that I'm working, you know, pay attention to my airbrush, what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of moving it around in small circular motions, and it's very, very subtle effect. Sprayed it a little bit over in that corner, and of course I'm doing some erasing out over there. Going to use it in multiple different places, and most of those places when you use it is still going to have to be erased out. Obviously a lot of erasing going on, so you're putting that little bit of tint and tone in there and then erasing out the white highlights. Going to use that really dark blue mix that we've got and just go really, really subtle here. I want you to see how subtle that is, just to put in a little bit of that color of the cheek. And of course, obviously we will have to bring out some highlights, and then we're also going to use that same mix to darken in the brow even more. And then if you pay attention, I'm also going to darken in over the eyelid to push that back just a little bit, and a little bit more darkness on the brow. Hey, you, up front. Yeah, you. Yeah, you. Shut up a little bit. I'm trying to watch the movie. If you're liking what you're seeing, hey, maybe you should think about subscribing and hitting that notification bell, because if you don't hit the notification bell, YouTube ain't going to notify you new videos are out. We got like 50 videos for you guys to go through, so if you like what you're seeing here, make sure you check out some of them other ones. Taking a little reducer on a paper towel and pouncing it on that spot right there. And I'm going to freeze frame this because I just wanted you to see the effect that does. You know, there are no tricks that are against the rules. A little bit of up close of what I was talking about, putting that highlight next to them pores there. I'm just adjusting a couple values on that cheek, putting the final creases in there, a little bit of more texture in there with the airbrush, and then I want to come in and put some of those deep pore tissues in there before the end. All right, guys, that is gonna do it. We appreciate y'all stopping by here. I hope y'all got something out of it, and I'm already working on the next piece of fan art. You know, you guys have talked, I'm listening. You know, people are into the fan art, so I'm going to do a couple more pieces of fan art and not going to spoil it, but I'm already working on Friday's video, so I will have another video out for you guys either Friday or Saturday morning, one or the other. Anyway, we appreciate y'all stopping by. Y'all have a great one. Bye.